God says, anointed woman, you passed the test. Now watch me restore everything. And hear this not as a whisper, not as a distant promise, but as a living word that finds you right where you are, in the quiet places where tears were your only prayers and endurance became your daily offering. You did not arrive here by accident. You were shaped here. Every delay that confused you, every closed door that made you question your worth, every season where you felt unseen and uncelebrated was not punishment, it was preparation. You were being trained to carry what is coming without breaking under its weight. There were moments you stood strong for everyone else while silently bleeding inside. You smiled when your heart was tired. You encouraged others while wondering when it would finally be your turn. You stayed faithful when it would have been easier to walk away. Heaven recorded every choice you made when no one applauded you, the nights you cried into your pillow, the mornings you got up anyway, the prayers you whispered when your voice was too weak to speak them out loud. None of it was wasted. God saw it all. You were tested in ways that could not be explained to people who have never walked your path. Tested in your patience when answers didn't come. Tested in your character when you were misunderstood. Tested in your faith when the promise felt farther away than ever before. You were tested in relationships, in finances, in your emotions, and in your identity. And still, you stayed. Still, you believed. Still, you chose integrity over impulse, obedience over opinion, and faith over fear. There were times when you wondered if God had forgotten your name. Times when silence felt louder than any word. Times when you replayed the same prayer again and again, asking, Lord, did you hear me? And even in that silence, God was working behind the scenes, aligning things you could not see, moving people you had not met yet, closing chapters that would have destroyed your future if they had remained open. What felt like rejection was actually protection. What felt like delay was divine timing. You did not break when pressure came. You bent, but you did not shatter. You learned how to praise with tears in your eyes and trust with a trembling heart. You learned that strength does not always roar. Sometimes it whispers, I will try again tomorrow. You learned how to stand alone without becoming bitter, how to wait without losing hope, how to forgive without receiving an apology. That is not weakness, that is anointing. God says you passed the test not because you were perfect, but because you were faithful. Faithful when it hurt, faithful when it was lonely, faithful when no one would have blamed you for giving up. You passed because you kept your heart soft in a hard season. You passed because you refused to let disappointment turn into resentment. You passed because you trusted God's character even when you questioned his methods. Now watch me restore everything, not some things, not a few broken pieces, everything. Restoration does not mean returning you to who you were before the pain. It means elevating you into who you were always meant to be. God is not bringing you back empty-handed. He is bringing you forward with wisdom, authority, and discernment. The restoration coming to your life carries depth, maturity, and purpose that could only be born through testing. What you lost will come back in a new form. What was taken will be replaced with something stronger. What died will be resurrected with greater power. God is restoring your confidence, your peace, your joy, and your sense of identity. He is restoring your voice so you no longer second guess your calling. He is restoring your heart so you can love again without fear. He is restoring your vision so you can dream without shrinking those dreams to fit other people's limitations. There are doors about to open that once seemed permanently locked. Opportunities will come that align with your spirit instead of draining it. Connections will form that feel effortless, confirming rather than confusing. You will recognize them not by how impressive they look, but by the peace they bring. God is removing counterfeit blessings and replacing them with divine ones. This is not about proving anything to anyone. It is about stepping into what heaven already approved. You endured seasons where you were overlooked, undervalued, and underestimated. People judged your silence as weakness, your kindness as naivete, your patience as passivity. They did not know the strength it took to restrain yourself when you could have defended, to remain quiet when you could have exposed, to walk away when you could have retaliated. God was watching how you handled power before he entrusted you with more. Restoration is not just about what God gives you, it is about what he removes from you. He is lifting the heaviness that settled in your spirit. He is breaking the cycle of self-doubt that followed you for too long. He is healing the places where you learned to survive instead of thrive. You will notice that things that once triggered you no longer control you. Conversations that once drained you will no longer have access to your peace. You are not the same woman who entered the fire, and that is the point. There will be moments ahead where you look back and realize the delay saved you from settling, saved you from attaching your future to people who could not carry it, saved you from environments that would have dimmed your light. God's timing did not deny you, it refined you. And now, you are stepping into a season where things flow instead of fight, where provision meets obedience, where grace meets preparation. Do not be surprised when blessings come quickly after long silence. Do not question it when restoration happens suddenly. You endured the stretch, now comes the release. You sowed in tears, now you will reap in joy. You stood firm when everything around you was shaking, and now God is establishing you on solid ground. This is the reward of endurance, not entitlement, but inheritance. God is restoring your authority. You will speak and things will shift. You will pray and situations will change. You will walk into rooms and bring clarity without trying. The anointing on your life was strengthened in the hidden places. You learned how to hear God's voice without needing constant confirmation. You learned how to move forward even when the path was unclear. That kind of faith cannot be manufactured, it is forged. There will be people who do not recognize you in this new season. Not because you became arrogant, but because you became whole. You will no longer explain yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. You will no longer chase validation that God already gave you. You will no longer beg for spaces that were never assigned to you. You are walking with a quiet confidence now, grounded, aware, and unshaken. Restoration also means clarity. You will see why certain prayers were delayed. You will understand why some doors never opened. You will thank God for the no that once broke your heart. Wisdom will rise in you, not loud or boastful, but steady and discerning. UY. LL, choose differently because you see differently now. God says, anointed woman, lift your head. The season of testing has shifted. You are not forgotten. You are not behind. You are not disqualified. You are aligned. Heaven is backing what is about to unfold in your life. Step forward without fear, without apology, without shrinking. Walk knowing that the same God who carried you through the storm is now positioning you for overflow, and as restoration begins to unfold, it will not just touch one area of your life. It will ripple outward, affecting your relationships, your purpose, your resources, and your inner world. You will feel lighter. You will laugh more freely. You will rest without guilt. You will trust without constantly bracing for loss. This is what happens when God restores from the inside out. Do not rush this moment. Let it unfold. Let healing finish its work. Let joy settle back into your spirit. Let hope rise again without fear of disappointment. You are not stepping into a season of chaos, but into a season of alignment where what God promised meets who you have become. And even now, as you stand on the edge of what is next, there is a quiet stirring in your spirit, a knowing that something has shifted, that the weight has lifted, that the long night is finally giving way to morning, and God is saying, stay close, stay listening, because what I am about to do next will require you to move with faith, with discernment, and with a heart fully surrendered, ready to receive what eyes have not seen and ears have not heard. Prepared to walk into rooms you once only prayed about, carrying a testimony that is still being written, a restoration that is still unfolding, and a purpose that is just beginning to reveal itself as you continue forward, step by step, trusting that the same hand that held you together in the breaking is now leading you into the becoming. And as you continue forward, understand that this next season will not look like the struggle you survived. It will not carry the same weight, the same resistance, the same constant proving. God is shifting you from survival into stewardship. What you once begged for, you will now be trusted to manage. What you once prayed would simply arrive, you will now be called to multiply. This is why the test was necessary. Blessing without preparation would have crushed you, but blessing after refinement will elevate you. You are stepping into a season where discernment becomes your greatest protection. Not everyone who applauds you is assigned to you. Not every open door is meant for your feet. God trained you in isolation so you would not be easily impressed by noise. You learned how to recognize peace over excitement, confirmation over compliments, alignment over attention. This wisdom is part of your restoration. You will not lose yourself again trying to keep access to people who were never meant to stay. There will be moments when the enemy tries to remind you of who you were in the pain, but God will remind you of who you became in the process. You are no longer that woman who questioned her worth every time something went wrong. You are no longer the woman who internalized rejection as a reflection of her value. You are no longer the woman who kept shrinking to make others comfortable. The fire burned that version away, and what remains is strength wrapped in humility, confidence grounded in faith. God is restoring your ability to trust again, not recklessly, not blindly, but wisely. You will trust with boundaries. You will love with clarity. You will give without emptying yourself. You will serve without losing your voice. Balance is part of your healing. You no longer have to choose between obedience and rest, between purpose and peace. God is teaching you how to carry both. There is a divine recalibration happening in your spirit. Your desires are changing. What once excited you no longer holds the same pull. What once intimidated you now feels familiar. You are being drawn toward spaces that stretch you instead of drain you, toward conversations that sharpen you instead of confuse you, toward assignments that align with your calling instead of feeding your insecurity. This shift is not accidental. It is evidence that restoration is already underway. You may notice that people from your past resurface, curious about the change they sense but cannot fully understand. Some will want access to the version of you that no longer exists. Others will test whether you have truly healed. You do not owe anyone a return to your former self. Growth does not require permission. Healing does not need approval. You are allowed to outgrow what once felt familiar. God says, do not apologize for your boundaries. They are the fruit of answered prayers. They are the result of lessons learned the hard way. They are the guardrails protecting what He restored. You are no longer available for cycles that God already delivered you from. You are no longer responsible for fixing what God is exposing. Your obedience now looks like restraint, discernment, and trust. There is also a deeper level of intimacy being restored between you and God. In the testing, prayer became raw, honest, stripped of performance. You learned how to come to God without polished words, without pretending to be strong. That kind of relationship changes everything. Now, your obedience flows from trust, not fear. Your worship flows from gratitude, not desperation. Your faith flows from experience, not just hope. You will begin to see prayers answered in layers. Some answers will surprise you. Others will confirm what God had already been whispering. There will be moments when you realize God was working on multiple fronts at once, healing you while positioning others, restoring your heart while rearranging your future. Nothing was delayed without purpose. Nothing was wasted. Restoration will also reveal your voice. You will speak with authority born from survival and grace. Your words will carry weight because they were forged in truth. You will minister to people without trying, simply by being who you are now. Your testimony will not be about how strong you were, but about how faithful God was when you were weak. And that authenticity will open doors no resume ever could. God is restoring your joy, not as a temporary emotion, but as a settled state. You will laugh again without forcing it. You will enjoy moments without waiting for something to go wrong. You will celebrate progress instead of minimizing it. Joy will no longer feel unsafe. You are learning that happiness does not invite loss, it honors healing. There will be financial restoration for some, emotional restoration for others, relational restoration for many. But the greatest restoration will be internal. Your sense of self is being rebuilt on truth instead of trauma. You are no longer defined by what you endured, but by what you overcame. Your identity is rooted, not reactive, secure, not shaken by opinions or outcomes. God is teaching you how to receive. This may be harder than giving. You were comfortable being the strong one, the helper, the supporter. Now God is placing you in positions where you must allow others to pour into you, where you must accept help without guilt, where you must receive blessing without explaining why you deserve it. This is part of the healing too. You're entering a season where alignment will replace striving. You will not have to force what God has ordained. What is for you will find you. What belongs with you will recognize. You will still work, still prepare, still show up, but the heavy resistance is lifting. Favor will rest on your obedience. Grace will meet your effort. Do not be surprised when your pace changes. You will move with intention, not urgency. You will wait without anxiety. You will act without fear. You are no longer driven by the need to prove anything. You are led by purpose, anchored in peace. This calm confidence is evidence that God has healed places you once thought would always ache. There will be moments when memories surface, but they will no longer hold power over you. What once triggered tears will now remind you of how far you have come. What once defined your pain will now define your growth. You are not suppressing the past. You are redeemed from it. The story did not end where it hurt. God kept writing. As restoration continues, you will notice an increase in clarity. Decisions that once felt overwhelming will now feel straightforward. You will know when to say yes and when to walk away. You will trust your discernment without constantly second guessing it. God trained your spiritual senses in the wilderness so you could navigate abundance without losing direction. You will also learn that restoration does not mean the absence of challenges. It means the presence of peace in the midst of them. You will face new levels and with them new responsibilities, but you will not face them alone. The same God who sustains you in the valley will empower you on the mountain. You will carry confidence, not in your own strength, but in God's faithfulness. There is a refining happening even now in how you see yourself. You are learning to speak kindly to yourself, to honor your limits, to rest without shame, to celebrate growth without comparison. Self-compassion is part of your maturity. You no longer punish yourself for past mistakes that God already redeemed. D, God is restoring your sense of belonging. You will find your people, not a crowd, but a covering, not many, but meaningful. Relationships rooted in honesty, respect, and mutual growth. You will no longer feel the need to perform to be accepted. You will be valued for who you are, not for what you provide. As this season unfolds, you may feel a gentle urgency to obey quickly when God speaks. Delayed obedience once felt safer, but now you trust His voice more than your fear. You have seen what happens when you surrender control. You have learned that obedience leads to peace, even when it doesn't make sense at first. God says, anointed woman, keep your heart open. Do not allow past wounds to make you guarded against future blessings. Protection does not require isolation. Wisdom does not require hardness. You can be discerning and still be loving. You can be strong and still be tender. Balance is your portion now. The restoration you are walking into will testify not only of God's power, but of His precision. He knew exactly what to remove, what to allow, what to delay, and what to redeem. Your life is not behind schedule. It is unfolding according to divine order. Even now, pieces are coming together in ways you could not have orchestrated. Stay present in this season. Do not rush ahead mentally. Do not dwell behind emotionally. God is doing something sacred in the now. He is teaching you how to live whole, how to breathe deeply, how to trust fully. This is not just a reward, it is a new way of living. And as you continue to walk, you will sense God inviting you deeper, calling you higher, asking you to trust Him with not just your pain, but your joy, not just your survival, but your abundance, not just your prayers, but your praise, guiding you step by step into a future that is still unfolding, still forming, still revealing layers of purpose, favor, and gra. CE, where every healed place becomes a doorway, every lesson becomes a light, and every restored piece of your life prepares you for what God is about to do next as you keep moving forward, listening closely, staying faithful, and allowing the work He began to continue. Because this journey was never meant to stop at healing alone. Healing was the doorway, not the destination. God is now inviting you into influence, into impact, into a life that reflects not just survival, but surrender. You are learning how to live from overflow instead of depletion, how to give without losing yourself, how to shine without apologizing for the light. This is the quiet power of restoration. It doesn't announce itself loudly, it simply changes everything. You will notice that your prayers are shifting. You're no longer asking God to rescue you from what you were in, you're asking Him to guide you through what He is entrusting to you. Your conversations with Him feel less frantic, more intimate, less about answers, more about alignment. You trust Him differently now because you have seen His hand in the darkest moments. You know He does not abandon what He anoints. There will be days when you are tempted to question whether you truly deserve this peace, this clarity, this sense of direction. And in those moments, God will remind you that grace is not earned, it is received. You did not pass the test by striving for perfection. You passed it by staying surrendered, by choosing humility over pride, patience over panic, obedience over comfort. That is why this restoration can rest on you without destroying you. You are becoming aware of how deeply God has rewired your responses. Situations that once would have sent you into overthinking no longer have that power. Criticism no longer defines you. Delays no longer derail you. You have learned how to pause, pray, and proceed without spur. Ailing. Emotional maturity is one of the most powerful forms of restoration, and it is evident in how you move now. God is restoring your creativity, your passion, your sense of wonder. Things you once loved but laid down out of exhaustion are beginning to stir again. Ideas are returning. Vision is returning. Purpose is returning. Not in a rushed or overwhelming way, but gently, steadily, as your capacity increases. God never demands more than He has already prepared you to carry. You are also learning how to release control. This was one of the hardest lessons for you because control once felt like safety. But God showed you that control can become a cage when it replaces trust. Now you are learning how to hold plans loosely, to allow God room to redirect without resistance. This flexibility is not weakness, it is faith in motion. There will be moments when others look at you and assume things have always been easy for you. They will see the grace, the calm, the confidence, but they will not see the nights you wrestled with doubt or the mornings you had to choose courage again. And you will not feel the need to correct them. Your story no longer needs validation. It stands on its own, quietly powerful, deeply rooted. God is restoring your relationship with time. You are no longer racing against it, fearing you are running out. You understand now that what is meant for you cannot miss you. You move with patience instead of pressure. You trust that delay does not mean denial and waiting does not mean wasted. This peace with time allows you to be fully present, fully alive. You may notice a new boldness rising in you, not loud, not aggressive, but steady and assured. You speak truth without fear of rejection. You stand firm without needing to dominate. You lead without controlling. This is authority refined by humility, strength balanced by grace. This is what happens when God restores you from the inside out. There will be opportunities ahead that require you to step out before you feel completely ready. And you will recognize that familiar feeling of faith stretching you again. But this time, fear will not have the final say. You have learned that readiness is not the absence of fear, it is obedience in the presence of it. You will move forward trusting that God goes before you. God is restoring your sense of value beyond productivity. You no longer measure your worth by how much you do for others or how much you accomplish in a day. You are learning how to rest without guilt, how to say no without explanation, how to honor your limits as sacred. This rest is not laziness, it is stewardship of the life God restored. You will also see restoration in how you handle conflict. You no longer avoid it out of fear, nor do you seek it out to prove a point. You approach it with wisdom, clarity, and self-respect. You know when to speak and when silence is the stronger response. Peace has become more valuable to you than being right. God is restoring your laughter, the kind that comes from joy, not relief, the kind that fills a room without effort, the kind that reminds you that life can be light again. You will catch yourself smiling for no reason, grateful for moments you once rushed past. Gratitude has become your posture, not because everything is perfect, but because you recognize how far you have come. There is a new level of trust being built between you and God, one that goes beyond understanding. You no longer need every detail explained. You have learned that God's faithfulness in the past is enough assurance for the future. This trust allows you to move when He says move, and to wait when He says wait, without inner turmoil. You're becoming comfortable with being seen again, not performing, not proving, just present. You no longer hide your light out of fear of being misunderstood. You no longer dim yourself to make others comfortable. You have learned that shrinking does not protect you. It only delays the impact God intends through you. God is restoring your expectation. You are learning how to hope again without bracing for disappointment. This was not easy because disappointment once taught you to guard your heart too tightly. But God is showing you that hope is not naive, it is necessary. It is the language of faith, the bridge between promise and fulfillment. You will also recognize moments when God asks you to release things that once mattered deeply to you. Not because they are bad, but because they are no longer aligned. Restoration often requires surrender. You trust now that what God removes is never as valuable as what He replaces it with. There will be days when the old fears try to resurface, whispering that this peace will not last, that something will go wrong. And in those moments, you will respond differently. You will ground yourself in truth. You will remind your soul of God's track record. You will choose faith over forecasting disaster. This is growth you cannot unlearn. God is restoring your sense of purpose beyond personal success. You are beginning to see how your story can serve others, how your healing can become a lifeline, how your testimony can bring hope without preaching. You do not have to force it. Impact will flow naturally from authenticity. You are also learning how to celebrate yourself without pride, to acknowledge progress without minimizing it, to honor the work God has done in you without comparing your journey to anyone else's. Celebration is not arrogance, it is gratitude made visible. As restoration continues, you will notice that your environment begins to reflect your inner world. Chaos gives way to order. Clutter gives way to clarity. You become intentional about what you allow into your space, your mind, your spirit. This is not about perfection, it is about peace. God is restoring your courage to dream again. Not small, safe dreams, but God-sized ones that require trust. Dreams that stretch your faith and remind you that He is still writing your story. You no longer fear disappointment as much as you fear disobedience. That shift changes everything. There will be moments when you feel God calling you to step away from familiarity, from comfort zones that once felt secure. And while your heart may hesitate, your spirit will recognize the invitation. You have learned that growth often requires movement, and obedience often requires letting go. You are walking into a season where your life becomes a quiet testimony. People will sense something different about you. They may not have language for it, but they will recognize the peace, the confidence, the depth. And without trying, without striving, you will point them toward the God who restored you. God says, continue trusting me with the process. Do not rush what is still unfolding. Do not doubt what I am building. Every step you take in obedience is reinforcing the foundation beneath you. This restoration is not fragile. It is rooted. And as you keep moving forward, there will be new lessons, new levels, new invitations to trust deeper and surrender more, moments where faith is required again, moments where courage is called forth again. But now you move with a different awareness, a deeper assurance, knowing that you are not walking alone, knowing that what God has begun, He is faithful to continue, knowing that every season, every shift, every unfolding chapter is drawing you further into alignment, further into purpose, further into the fullness of who you were created to be as the journey continues, as the work deepens, as the restoration keeps expanding into areas you didn't even realize were waiting to be touched. And God keeps speaking, guiding, shaping, and leading you forward. So receive this word and let it settle deep within you. The test is over, the refining has done its work, and the restoration is not a distant promise, but a present reality unfolding step by step. What God has rebuilt in you cannot be undone by opinions, delays, or memories of past seasons. You are walking forward, marked by grace, strengthened by wisdom, and anchored in faith. The tears were not in vain, the waiting was not empty, and the silence was not abandonment. It was all part of a divine process, shaping you into someone who can carry blessing without losing humility, influence without losing integrity, and purpose without losing peace. Stand confident, not in yourself, but in the God who carried you, tested you, refined you, and now restores you completely. The same hand that allowed the fire is now releasing the favor. And as you move forward, trust this above all else. What God has restored, He intends to sustain, and what He has begun in you will continue to unfold with power, precision, and unshakable purpose.